sawed this stuff all up, you know, because I mean, if we had the planks, Mark and I were trying.
Take off the roof of the bowling alley.
Yeah, well,
Is it bowling
that
alley
was
staying?
discussed. That was discussed, and John Jean said, we ain't doing that.
He's got enough money on
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a full size. I mean, they're up there.
Are they?
Yeah, yeah. We got a sample on Monday, so maybe you can take a look at them too.
Why can't we just
Yeah.
take that part of the roof off?
No,
It's
what is
slate.
the stuff on the
What's
board?
that?
It's
Mark?
late, so it.
What is what now?
What's the stuff on the board?
Slate
Okay.
you should put back on.
This is the surface that faced the passage, Nellie's passage. And this right here is where the paint finish hit the plaster ceiling of the passage. And I'm going to go up the board, and right here, this ghost right here is where finished floor hit the thing. And then you can see it's still unpainted here. That's where the baseboard in the stair room, Nellie's stair room, covered up. Then you've got this sort of milk chocolate colored paint coming down and hitting that baseboard. So if we were to put that in its correct orientation, that would actually be this way. Over here, like this, and about right here. Matthew pointed out that there's a ghost right there, and so we're going to move that over to that ghost. And what that means is you've got a spacer behind it, and in fact you can see where they cut off this ledger here, and so that probably went across that spacer. So right there is where this thing goes, and once we have that in place, there's whitewash on this thing that gives us the slope of the soffit, so that'll help us in establishing the slope of the bottom of the stair. Plus you've got this right here, you've got a nosing and the next tread down all on the same board. So this will really fix the whole scheme of the treads and risers once we get this thing located. And that's what we were having trouble with, because the lines that we were plotting and the lines that Gardner was able to plot, they were all based on kind of ghosts that weren't very exact. It was hard to get an exact slope that was working with all that. So I think this will help us, and so we're going to get this thing plumbed up and put back in what we think is its original position. So we tried plotting nail holes and then measuring those in the backs of these things. We just weren't getting anywhere with that. So Matt noticed that this was painted, that this edge was painted, and therefore it's the back edge of the stair enclosure. So, so anyway, get that put back and we can all go home.
No.
Right here is the ledger that this thing sat on, and farther back in, this is attached for the wrought nail, so we know it's early. Right here is the ghost where the sheathing board hit the header, and so if that sheathing board was only an inch thick, you can see that there was a space behind it that corresponds basically with this thickness. So it seems like the sheathing boards were attached not to the joist, but to this ledger. So we'll be putting it back that way. Mark Gooch will be putting it back that way, and then we can pull measurements off of that. We got to figure out what this is.
What's that?
That's that beaded board, paint on it. So maybe we can get
Chair
Susan.
rental, or
Well, it could be. Yeah, it could be.
what are they pulling out?
Well, it has to come out in 1809. Yeah, it feels like it's plain on this upper edge, so I'm not sure what it is. But it's, could be a piece of baseboard, but it seems a little too low for that.
It seems a little thick
Could
too.
be like a corner board or something. They were kind of a salient corner somewhere, and they stick that on the corner to let the plaster die against. Maybe it comes off the corner of the stair enclosure, that kind of, or off of the linen closet,
Mhm.
off the corner of that.
Has Susan sampled that? We have a
I
sample?
don't think so. One thing would be to, I think we looked at this, I can't remember, but to see if the paint at all, if any of the paint turns up on the upper edge of it, if there was like a little reveal between the plaster maybe stood back an eighth or something from the face of it, that would sort of tell you got a baseboard or something.
Does this being chopped out,
Not a baseboard, but a corner board.
this being chopped out, does that interfere with our placement of this board at all? No.
No, in fact, it gives you something to stop the carriage. In other words, we thought the carriage stopped about back here.
Right.
But if you add back in this amount here,
Right.
if you add that back in, that gives you some additional vertical surface here to kind of catch that carriage as it runs past. So,
But I mean,
that might be
placing that board
just
that
a
we're
thing.
placing back, that won't represent. I mean, we don't have to take into account for this missing part on that, right?
No,
Because the ghost is all with there with the plaster and everything
Yeah,
else, not
yeah.
with that.
Yeah, so we're
We're good to go.
we'll be
there.
fine. Yeah. All right. We'll start with a block like that and just put 2 screws in it. And yeah, would that give us what we need to do this? And then we apply this to that. Sure. Back here, kind of past the Bethesda hose. Yeah, so maybe we'll do that. That way we put just 2 screws in
Boy,
there.
I didn't have this many people watch you work, huh?
Well, it's the one from the shop. I just
Oh, you
brought
brought
it
it
up,
up?
It's in there somewhere.
Get back to the computer. Get some of that stuff done.
And then,
Now, what we want to do, Mark, is I'm going to, oops, got it wrong. There we go. Well, this is what we're going to do is align this with the plaster, and so I've got a straight edge here, and I'll tell you when we're on it. So keep going up, 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 up. Right there is right vertically, and then we want to just make sure that we've got it plumbed.
you got it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be cool. We'll get a screw started.
And I want to make sure that we're,
Go back up here just a little bit. There you go.
now let's see, let me make sure we're
I'll
on
put a
there.
couple tick marks on it. That should be about it.
Oh, okay, all right.
You move it to where you want it. And hold it.
Get a level mark.
I got it.
Okay.
that's level and plumb and
Is it all lined
everything?
up still?
Well, it's not plumb this way, but
oh, it doesn't need to be plumb that way. As
straighten
long
that
as it's
back up.
plumb this way. That's
you're
what
fine
matters.
that way.
Okay, good. And we're up against this up here.
yeah, but it looks like you dropped down about 1/8 of an inch.
Does it? Well, it does. Yeah, we sure did. We raise that. You have a chance of doing that?
Keep me level. Good. Okay.
Good. All right, sir. Thank you. That's great.
It's wonderful.
All right.
I feel like you're throwing enough attachments, fasteners.
Attachment fasteners.
Yep.
All right. Now we can start getting our
String lines.
dimensions off of this. Yeah. So, project a straight edge over that and see. I'll tell you what, let me stand up on
Want
the
to get a
ladder.
string line?
Well, I'll tell you what, let's just,
Get some
let's figure out where
the carriages end.
this thing hits, where the plaster hit. I think this is where, now the upper edge of this is our plaster, okay?
Okay,
That's
so
where the plaster's
this comes
hitting the
into-
ceiling. So why don't you get a dimension?
I gotta go get my bag. Hold on.
Okay, all right. So what we'll do is we'll get a dimension from the back edge of this thing, or from the header back to the where the plaster hit the plane of the ceiling. When you climb up on the ladder, you'll see that there's a nosing, but we got the ghost of the nosing there, and our first riser is right up against this. Okay, so so let's get a dimension from the header back to where the plaster would have hit.
Face of header.
To intersection of the plaster planes is 5.5 inches.
Section of 5.5 inches.
And from top of framing, in other words, this plaster passes by
Top of framing.
1'5" below top of framing. In other words, it's
top of framing to bottom of plaster.
1'5" from the top of the header
Top of header. Okay.
to the soffit, to the plastered soffit is 1'5", and that's measured.
Soffit is one.
For the nosing coming over, and right here you can see the paint line for the first riser of the stair. I don't know if you can see that right there, where my finger is the first riser, paint line for that, and then just above that, below the blue tape, you can kind of see where the nosing left a profile. And then Maggie, down at the lower end, you can see the raking line for the plaster soffit right here. So the plaster soffit was here, and then the interior of the closet under the stair was whitewashed up to that plaster. That's what you're seeing there. And then one other thing to see around here, maybe. Maggie, and maybe we can move the light so you can see that, is the back edge of this thing. So, may I move this light? You can hold it. And,
Is that right, good for you, Maggie, or?
and right here, this surface is unpainted, and the paint begins right there. So there was some kind of finish nailed to the back of this, probably to form a door head for a door that went in under this closet. And here you can see paint that sort of turned the corner just slightly, suggesting that maybe this was a beaded piece of casing or something. And if you come around this way, Maggie, you can see right here, let me get on the other. The plaster ceiling originally hit here. And so this locates this piece of wood vertically in the proper location. Here we're seeing the paint finish that faced into the passage just before this was removed, I don't know, 1880s or maybe 1900. And then below that is a lighter color, that's the Madison color. So it's the light color that's going to be reproduced here when all of this goes back in. Let's see, let me get something to point with.
Here, I got a pencil.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
It's black, so.
Right here is the nosing for the flooring as it came over the top of the framing and came back, and right here is the ghost of the first riser. And so there was a ghost right along the header here that allowed us to place this, or that indicated that we should place the board here as opposed to being farther back against the joist. And so now what we've got is we've got the first nosing, the riser, and then lower down we've got the line of the first full tread below the first floor. So we've got what we need now to fix the slope of this stair. In addition to that, we can tell down at the very bottom of the board, we can tell where the sloping soffit of the stair was and how the whitewash finish on the interior of the closet came up and stopped against that plastered stair soffit. So we really got everything we need here now to fix the slope, the rise, the run of the stair. Now, is this, how well does this line with this? Let's turn that up. Let's see. Let's get that. Get that line. Turn that back there. Well, that's not bad. I mean, so if we keep this, well, these two go together, don't they? Well, we're missing one because that's a cut, and that's a bead, so we're missing one. All on that?
Let's one go for it.
Yeah, let's move this one that way. Let's see. I think that's it. We're clearly missing one. We're clearly missing one board. Somewhere in the house, distance. See, we've got nosing here, and tread here, and nosing there. Oh yeah, nosing here.
Yeah.
Nosing there, and there. See, that's why this has got no whitewash on the bottom. We're missing the bottom. see, this is just where they've, I don't know how we're gonna locate any of those. Do they have any other longer ones left?
No, I think that's it.
That's it. Oh, here's one. Oh, maybe not. It's scraped away, that's why it's kind of. That's everything?
I think so, yeah.
Measure from the top of the framing down to the floor.
Okay.
Oh, and also, how far? See the stain. Yeah, let's call that. That's the bottom of the frame. Okay, so that's 7 foot 10 1/4 from the bottom of the frame to 7 foot 10 1/4 minus 3/4, 7 foot 9 1/2. The bottom of the framing to the top of the enclosure. That from the plaster. See what I'm saying is we thought the top of the enclosure was right here.
One.
So subtract 8 here.
Considerably?
Yeah.
Because that one we think is good.
Yeah. Okay.
Look, this one right here.
All right. So if that is good, then what's that? 5 or 6. So 8 plus 6. So we're about 14 inches. Yeah. Now 16 inches. So that's the base right there.
Yeah, so how much is this?
Oh, see, there's a plan where the top and bottoms of those little joists are. And of course, this is all from the other end of the house, I think. So that we may not be able to get it. But in other words, what does this paint line represent at the top of the enclosure? Is that just a cleat? Is it a member in which the thing's been rabbited? I bet you it's rabbited in.
To the masonry?
Or into a let's see, this is the inside of the thing. And so maybe what they do is they rabbit, if they have a little plate with it, and the joist mortise into that plate. And then the tops of the sheetings rabbit into this little horizontal member, the joists are tenon into that or something. I don't know.
There's no evidence of anything connecting to this wall. Not this wall, but the frame wall. How would we die into this?
Well, I think it's all gone. In other words, I have something coming out here, something coming out of this
That's what we
place
think, yeah.
here, and then maybe some sort of ledger just nailed across the face of this thing.
Are these good studs? They are, aren't they?
This is, and that is. Those are good studs, and actually one in the center is too.
Yeah, because you still have good lap above.
Yeah.
My question is how they're doing this here.
Yeah.
And then what's happening from here up to the ceiling?
Right.
How they're putting other planks that
Well, what we thought was they were applying planks from underneath.
okay.
And so,
So you have like a little lofty space up here, or
Mhm,
like
yeah.
for storage or something?
yeah. Birds around those joists. See, there's your joist right there. I guess we don't have the top and bottom. Well, we got the main part of it figured out, I think.
Stuff so bad. Mark, so would they nail something, the boards to the joist? Not necessarily?
Yeah, yeah.
They would like
to
to
the
nail
inside
to the
face of
inside.
the joist.
So it will be in this one here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe we can even find those nail holes.
Yeah. And you remember this one was cut out
Yeah.
and moved forward to maybe create headroom or something?
Yeah, I remember that.
Well, anyway.
Okay.
These are portions of the plank enclosure for the stair, the cellar stair in the south wing, we believe. These have been ripped down and reused as flooring strips on the east wall of room 134. And we've extracted those and reassembled them. And we think
Wait a minute, Mark. All right, let me get,
okay, so I'll try again.
yeah.
Enclosure for the cellar stair in the south wing, in Nellie's wing. These have been ripped down and reused as furring strips on the east wall of room 134. We've extracted them and taken all the nails and blocked them off of it and reassembled them on the floor of James and Dolly's dining room here. And what you see is a whitewashed area that faced the area under the stairs, under the steps, and that area under the steps was first painted black and then later whitewashed. And that area stops on a hard raking line against what would have been the plastered soffit or underside of the stair. Right here you see a paint ghost for the tread, the nosing, the riser, the next tread, a nosing there, riser, tread, and then we've got another nosing right here. So we're getting the stair, and it's a fairly steep stair, and that suggests that these are from the cellar stairs. The main stairs weren't this steep. So remembering that this surface represents the inside of the stair enclosure, the area below is whitewashed, the area above was painted a sort of chocolate color, and then up at the far end of these boards, there's a paint line here that represents the ceiling of the stair enclosure. And we can relate this ceiling height to the finished first floor by flipping these boards over. We can't do that one, that's broken. Let me flip this board over, it'll stay in one piece. And you'll see that there's beige paint here that was on the outside of the stair enclosure up on the first floor. And then there's about 6 inches here that was covered by the baseboard, and another 8 or 10 inches covered by the framing and by the plaster ceiling of the passage in the wing. And then this faced the cellar passage down below. So this represents the first floor framing and the baseboard in the little stair room beside the stair. And those planks, these planks were nailed to the stair framing in the opening for the stair from this side. And here we have one of the L-headed brads still in place where it was nailed from the inside into that framing. So we have much of what we need here to recreate this early 19th century stair, the 1809 to 10 stair. And one other thing I failed to point out is we've lost the original edge on most of these, but we do seem to have like a 3/32 inch bead here, 3/32 inch bead, or 3/16, I'm sorry, 3/16 inch bead along this edge. and it was tongue and groove. You can see that the tongue is broken off in the groove here. And so these were tongue and groove planks, and these three planks, these three sections match here. So our plank was at least this wide, probably closer to 11 or 12 inches wide each of them. And so we had these very wide planks, tongue and groove, with